Hi, how are you? Alright, today we're going to do another take on the Three Little Pigs story. But this one is called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs, and it's written by a wolf. So this is the wolf's side of the story, as he told it to Jon Scieszka, and it was illustrated by Lane Smith. What do you think will happen when the wolf is the one telling us the story about the Three Little Pigs? Do you think it'll be the same story that we already know? Do you think it'll be different? Let's find out. Make your guess. Alright. Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs. You do. I do. Or at least they think they do. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think that you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, this whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. A sneeze and a cup of sugar? Sneeze plus sugar. This is the real story. Alright, let's find out. Way back in Once Upon a Time land, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold, and I ran out of sugar. I hope he was sneezing in his arm and covering up those germs so they don't fly all over in the cake. You wakala. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house of straw? So of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home with without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I stuffed and I sneezed. A great sneeze. That is a big sneeze indeed. And you know what? That whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig. Dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. Well, it seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger, just lying there. Would you have done that? Me neither. I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house. The neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house out of sticks. I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, Go away, wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin. There he is with his razor, shaving his chin hairs. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed, and I snuffed, and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. And when the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. What do you think he's going to do with the pig? Now you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open, so I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake, so I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He had built his house of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker answered? Get out of here, wolf. Don't bother me again. Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me even one little cup for my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin!" Ouch. Sitting on a pin would not feel good. Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little wild. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down this pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. What do you think the police thought? The rest, as they say, is history. Look, it was in the newspaper that he was a big, bad wolf. The news reporters found out about the 2 pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting, so they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. The real story. I was framed. That means somebody makes it look like you did it, even though you didn't. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar. So, I have a couple questions. First of all, what do you think of that story? Do you believe the big bad wolf and what he told us? Do you think that wasn't true and that the usual story that we hear is the true one? And also, think about how a story changes depending on who's telling it, right? So think about, like, I don't know, maybe when you were a little kid and how you might tell a story about something that happened, but maybe when someone else in your family, someone who's older, tells a story, it sounds kind of different, right? Or maybe thinking about when you were born, you probably don't remember that the same way that your mom does. So think about that. Think about how, maybe think of a different story. Think about Frozen. And think about how the story would sound if we were hearing it from Elsa and Anna's parents instead of from Elsa and Anna. It's kind of a fun little experiment to think about. All right, let me know your thoughts. See you later.